10 German suplexes, one cracked ring post, a steel chair folded in half, and still, both monsters kept getting back up. This wasn't just a match, it was a grueling war of attrition, a visceral clash that ended with only one man left standing. Tonight, we're rewinding the clock to dissect the brutal finale of Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, exposing the hidden psychology and the unforgettable moments that redefined what unstoppable truly means in professional wrestling. Fans still argue whether the 2016-2017 trilogy saved or scarred WWE's main event scene, but nobody denies the raw electricity that surged through arenas every single time those two iconic entrance themes blasted. It was an undeniable primal energy that promised chaos. We're skipping the fluff, heading straight to their last man standing showdown at WrestleMania 33, a contest that defied expectations and logic. We'll detour only when the larger story flips the stipulation on its head, revealing layers you might have missed. Get ready. Concussions are practically guaranteed. 12 long years after their infamous stinker at WrestleMania XX, a match marred by an apathetic crowd and two superstars with one foot out the door, Goldberg reappeared on Raw. Nobody saw it coming. He speared Lesnar out of his boots, a shocking return that immediately set the wrestling world abuzz. Then at Survivor Series, he flattened him again in a mere 84 seconds. That squash wasn't just shock booking, it was a thunderous statement that speed and surprise could level even the baddest man on the roster. Lesnar, the former UFC champ who had spent 2 years in Suplex City, dismantling the entire locker room with unparalleled brutality, now looked undeniably mortal. His aura, once impenetrable, had been pierced. The rematch clause, of course, was inevitable, but it came with a twist, a stipulation designed to punish and prod. The last man standing match, a contest where victory isn't about pinning shoulders or tapping out, but about sheer, unadulterated resilience. On paper, it favors the Beast's bully style, his methodical punishing offense. Yet, it also punishes his tendency to loaf when the bell tolls, forcing him to be relentlessly aggressive. Enter the last man standing contract, signed in a silent, suffocating stare-down that, ironically, lasted longer than their first 2 matches combined. The tension was palpable, a promise of violence hanging heavy in the air. Goldberg walked into that WrestleMania at 50 years old, every vein still popping, a testament to his freakish genetics. But his gas tank? Notorious for hitting empty after 5 minutes, a critical vulnerability in a match where endurance is key. Lesnar, at 39, was the walking definition of cardio-killing muscle, a legitimate athletic anomaly. Yet, his weakness had always been strikes he doesn't see coming. A blind spot that Goldberg, with his explosive spear, had exploited twice already. 2 alpha spears had already nuked Lesnar's aura of invincibility. Now, a count-out finish meant survival, not just an explosive, quick victory. Psychology 101. Goldberg needed to land early and decisively to finish it before his stamina betrayed him. Lesnar, on the other hand, needed to drag things into deep water to drown his opponent in a sea of suplexes and punishment. Whoever imposed their pace would not only own the match but own history. The bell hadn't finished ringing before Goldberg shot across the ring like a linebacker, a man possessed. He launched himself, shoulder first, through the ropes, delivering a devastating spear on the floor outside. Fans jumped to their feet, popcorn flying, a collective gasp turning into a roar. Lesnar, ever the showman, sold it with that wide-eyed smirk, a silent acknowledgement. Okay, old man still swings. But here's the nuance easy to miss, the veteran's savvy at play. Goldberg immediately rolled back into the ring, forcing the referee to start counting Brock while Bill conserved precious oxygen. It was a smart, calculated tactic. Use the stipulation, not just your fists. Brock beat the count at 9, but the pace was already irrevocably set. Urgency over pageantry, a sprint from the opening bell. True to form, Lesnar snatched a waist lock, and boom, the first German suplex. Goldberg popped up, snarling, defiant, charged, and boom, the second German. Repeat this brutal sequence 5 more times. By number 7, the crowd realized they weren't watching a typical wrestling match. They were witnessing a human deadlift contest, a grotesque ballet of power. Each throw was a statement, a brutal declaration. You can't spear what you can't catch. But notice the subtle genius in Goldberg's selling. He never stayed on the mat longer than 3 seconds. He was selling exhaustion, yes, but always crawling toward the ropes, staying vertical in spirit if not on his feet. It was a little detail, but a huge piece of storytelling. He refused to let the referee count past 4, a silent act of defiance against the stipulation itself. Then came the spot of the night, a moment of pure, unadulterated chaos. Goldberg ducked a clothesline, spun, and hit another spear, this time launching both men through the timekeeper's barricade. Tables splintered, monitors exploded, and for the first time, the crowd chanted, "Holy sh!" before the censors could even kick in. Both men were down, debris everywhere, and the referee, genuinely stunned, started a legitimate 10 count. Here's where the psychology flips. Lesnar was the one with a cut on his tricep, blood trickling, yet he grinned again. Why? Because every second the referee counted, Goldberg's aging lungs burned, his limited stamina draining. The Beast was pacing his cardio like a shark circling its prey, letting the clock do its work, slowly but surely. The match devolved into pure pandemonium. Chair shots rained down on Goldberg's back, a face-first toss into the unforgiving ring post, another chair folded across his spine. No disqualification meant no conscience, only brutal efficiency. But again, notice Lesnar's meticulous pacing. He never rushed. Between each weapon shot, he paused, listening for the count, measuring his opponent's exhaustion, his own stamina. He wasn't just fighting the man, he was fighting the stipulation itself, carefully managing his energy. Goldberg, a warrior to his core, answered every 9 count with a stagger up, eyes rolled back, defying medical logic and physical limitation. Fans started booing, not out of boredom, but out of sheer anxiety. They were witnessing a car crash in slow motion, and morality screamed to pull over. Yet the adrenaline of the spectacle demanded they floor it. Out of nowhere, a surge of adrenaline, a desperate last gasp. Goldberg hoisted Lesnar for the jackhammer. The crowd erupted, a deafening roar. That move had ended careers, defined legacies. 1, 2, wait, no pinfalls needed here. The rules of a last man standing match briefly slipped the collective mind. Instead, Goldberg rolled outside, grabbed the same steel chair, and repaid the favor with a thunderous headshot. Dented steel, Brock stumbled. The count started again. This was the false finish within a false finish psychology. Fans momentarily forgot the rules, then remembered with a jolt, then panicked. It was storytelling brilliance. WWE rarely lets weapons matter this much. But here, a chair shot felt like a definitive finish because the count was the only enemy that mattered. Brock, seemingly running on pure instinct and rage, rebounded. He hoisted Goldberg for an F5, but Goldberg, with a final burst of defiance, wriggled out, hitting a desperation spear. Lesnar, defying gravity and logic, flipped mid-air, landed on his feet, and delivered German suplex number 10. Commentary went silent. The move itself was commentary enough. 10 is a nice, round, symbolic number. The Beast had just completed the set. A brutal declaration of dominance. Meanwhile, Goldberg's chest was a canvas of crimson welts, his breathing like a broken accordion. The camera caught him mouthing, "Come on," to nobody, talking himself into standing, battling his own body. That single shot humanized the myth, revealing the man beneath the legend. Underneath the jacked exterior was a dad who had promised his son he'd still be Superman. Lesnar, with a primal growl, dragged Goldberg up, then delivered the final devastating F5 onto the chair wreckage that littered the ring. The referee started his count. 1, 2, Goldberg clawed at the mat, a desperate struggle. 3, 4, his knees trembled, threatening to buckle. 5, 6, he was up. The crowd absolutely lost it, a wave of disbelief and awe washing over the arena. So Lesnar, frustrated beyond measure, did the most logical, most brutal thing possible. He removed the turnbuckle pad, exposing the cold, hard steel, and rammed Goldberg's skull first into it. Eyes glazed, body folded, the last vestiges of strength draining away. 8, 9, 10. Silence. Then the referee raised Brock's hand. No gloating, no posing, just a quiet, almost weary exit up the ramp while EMTs swarmed the fallen warrior. The visual was stark, haunting, one titan vertical, the other horizontal. Brutal poetry in motion. The very next night on Raw, Paul Heyman, Lesnar's mouthpiece, cut a 5-word promo that sent chills down spines. The reign of terror continues. Short, impactful, terrifyingly effective. Goldberg, true to his word, disappeared, fulfilling his promise to his family that this run would end at WrestleMania. Meanwhile, Lesnar embarked on a 500-plus-day Universal Championship reign, cementing the title as a prop that only special attractions, only the Beast, could touch. This wasn't just about a championship, it was about establishing a new paradigm. More importantly, WWE's creative team learned a crucial lesson from this brutal encounter. Marquee matches don't always need 20 minutes to tell a compelling story. They need 20 memorable seconds stacked like dominoes, each one building on the last. Every short, impactful main event since, from Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan to Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, owes a significant receipt to this blueprint. This rivalry, particularly this last man standing match, proved that a concise, explosive narrative could be far more potent than a drawn-out epic. It redefined what fans expected from a top-tier match, shifting focus from duration to sheer, unforgettable intensity. Did Brock's 10th German suplex actually knock Goldberg out cold? Or was Bill selling a masterclass in defiance? Drop your timestamp of the exact moment you think consciousness left the building in the comments below. Let's settle this debate once and for all. Beyond the obvious brutality, there were 3 subtle layers you might have missed, crucial elements that elevated this match from a brawl to a masterclass in storytelling. The stipulation as character, Goldberg's entire aura is built on first 3 minutes or bust, so a count-out rule protected his mystique, allowing him to explode while simultaneously exposing his inherent limitation. It was a genius piece of booking. Lesnar's grin, each time he flashed that unsettling smile, he wasn't just showboating. Watch it back. The smile almost always coincided with huge, deliberate diaphragm breaths. He was resetting his oxygen, recovering, calculating, playing a psychological game of endurance. The referee as storyteller. This official subtly guided crowd emotion without breaking kayfabe. He counted slower when both men were down, building suspense, and faster when one was vertical, urging the crowd to react. These tiny details created massive payoff, enhancing the drama. This trilogy, culminating in the last man standing match, wasn't just another feud. It closed the gap between Attitude-era nostalgia and the modern, sports-centric presentation of WWE. It proved that a 50-year-old part-timer, if booked correctly, could still headline the biggest show of the year, provided the narrative stakes felt genuinely life or death. It also hammered home the idea that legitimate fight credentials could, at times, trump traditional wrestling fluency when the format was survival. Most importantly, it gave WWE permission to experiment with match length, demonstrating that sometimes less truly is more, provided every single second screams urgency and impact. This wasn't just a wrestling match. It was a statement. From the disastrous WrestleMania XX curtain call to the 84-second lightning bolt at Survivor Series, and finally to the definitive count of 10 on the grandest stage of them all, Goldberg and Lesnar wrote a 3-chapter saga about dominance, vulnerability, and the razor-thin line between myth and mortality. The Last Man Standing match wasn't just their brutal finale. It was WWE's declaration that storytelling can be lean, violent, and still leave a lifetime imprint on its audience. 10 suplexes, 2 broken barriers, 1 solitary victor. History recorded, rivalry closed. If you remember anything from this epic clash, remember this. When an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, the ultimate winner is often the stipulation itself, and of course, the fans who stood up and rode every single second of that brutal journey.